Okay, picture this. A classified document leaks from the very highest levels of government. But it's not about a war or some political scandal. No. This document details the literal end of the world as we know it. And it gives a specific date and time. This is the story of Project Anchor. And get this. This was the only message attached to the leak. It came from a whistleblower, someone deep inside the system. It just sets this incredibly chilling tone for what was inside this document they called Project Anchor. The core idea here is just terrifyingly specific. On August 12th, 2026, at a very precise time, the fundamental force holding all of us to the planet will just switch off. Not for long, just 7 seconds. But that's more than long enough. And look, this wasn't presented as some wild guess or fringe theory. The document included a formal probability assessment. It stated with 94.7% certainty that this event will happen. In the world of intelligence, that's basically a guarantee. The document even lays out this whole timeline of a massive cover-up. It claims that way back in 2019, NASA spotted the cause, 2 huge gravitational waves, on a collision course right at Earth. But when a Dr. Thomas Webb figured out the horrifying result in early 2026, he just disappeared. And his colleague, Dr. Miji Park, who confirmed his math, she was killed just 2 weeks later. It paints this picture of a brutal, terrifyingly efficient cover-up. So what was the response? Well, the document outlines this 4-stage secret plan. Protocol Alpha: tell absolutely no one. Keep the public completely in the dark to stop global panic. Beta: quietly build out those deep underground bunkers for the elites. Gamma: secretly bolt down critical stuff like nuclear power plants. And then there's Delta. And Delta is the coldest part of all. It's a plan to literally triage the entire human race. This is where you see the horrifying math of Protocol Delta. The plan just coldly predicts somewhere between 800 and 900 million deaths, mostly in countries that don't have the resources to prepare. The document doesn't call them people or victims, it calls them acceptable losses. So after seeing all of this, the dates, the secret protocols, the disappearing scientists, you have to admit, it's a story that feels terrifyingly plausible. Which, of course, brings us to the most important question of all. And here's the big reveal. None of it is real. The Project Anchor document, the scientists, the 7-second gravity glitch, the whole thing is a complete work of fiction. Yeah, this whole thing started on social media. It was crafted with just enough science-y sounding details that it felt real, and it just spread like wildfire. It got so huge, so pervasive that NASA, actual NASA, had to come out and make a public statement saying, no, Earth is not going to lose its gravity. But that leads us to the real mystery here. Why? Why did so many people believe it? And the answer is because this fictional story taps into a very real truth. Our understanding of gravity is shockingly incomplete. And its history? It's filled with actual secrets. To really get it, you have to look at what we actually know. For centuries, all we've been able to do is just describe what gravity does. Newton called it an invisible pull. Then Einstein came along and redefined it as a warp in space-time. Both are brilliant theories that predict how it behaves. But neither one of them can tell us what gravity fundamentally is. Think about it. Every other fundamental force of nature has a particle that carries it. Electromagnetism has the photon, right? Gravity is supposed to have something called the graviton, but we've never found it. We've never even detected it. It is a massive gaping hole in our understanding of the universe. And that hole? Well, that's where the real secrets begin. Because here's the thing. While that Project Anchor document was totally fake, the real-life pursuit of controlling gravity, that is very, very real. For almost 100 years, governments have been quietly looking into it and then classifying everything they find. When you look at the history, you start to see this really consistent and pretty disturbing pattern. It starts back in the 50s with a guy named T. Townsend Brown, who showed that you could create thrust with high-voltage fields. He called it electrogravitics. And what happened? The military promptly classified all his work. Then, decades later, a Russian physicist, Eugene Platonov, claims he figured out how to reduce an object's weight. He gets completely discredited. And then there's Dr. Ning Li, who gets funding from the Department of Defense for her gravity research, and then just vanishes into the classified world for more than a decade. And Platonov's claim, it was incredibly specific. He said that his spinning superconducting disk could actually shield the gravity of objects sitting above it by 2%. Now, 2% sounds small, right? But if you can shield 2%, you can eventually figure out how to shield 100%. His work was never publicly replicated, and his career was pretty much destroyed. So you see the pattern here, right? It's the same story every time for these pioneers. Brown, Platonov, Dr. Lee, it doesn't matter. Promising research pops up, it gets the attention of the military, and then one of two things happens. Either the work gets sucked into a black project, or the researcher gets professionally ruined. Dr. Lee's story is just tragic. She finally reappeared after 12 years, only to have a car accident that left her with brain damage. Her research was never released. So is this all just some weird historical coincidence? Or have these secret programs actually worked? Well, some pretty recent, well-documented events suggest that the technology isn't just real, it's already out there. In 2004, U.S. Navy pilots from the USS Nimitz Carrier Group came across an object that just defied physics. It dropped from 80,000 feet to just above the ocean in less than a second. That kind of acceleration would turn any known aircraft and its pilot into paste. It had no wings, no exhaust, it moved faster than sound without making a sonic boom. And this wasn't some blurry photo. This was all verified by some of the most advanced military sensors on Earth. This is what gravity control looks like in action. So why on earth would a technology like this be kept secret? Well, this chart really breaks down the three big reasons. The most obvious one is military dominance. Whoever controls gravity controls the ultimate high ground. But the other two are just as huge, if not bigger: economic disruption and total societal control. And here it is. This is the ultimate secret, the one that changes everything. Advanced physics suggests that if you can control gravity, you can unlock what's called zero-point energy. That's a potentially limitless, clean source of energy that you can pull right out of the vacuum of space itself. If you release that technology, the entire multi-trillion-dollar global energy industry becomes obsolete overnight. It would be the single biggest disruption in human history. So, from the perspective of the people in power, the threats are existential. If another country gets it first, it's a national security nightmare, an insurmountable advantage. If you release it to the public, you destroy the global economy. And for the intelligence agencies who thrive on control, it's a total loss of that control. With stakes this high, you don't keep the secret for a year or a decade. You keep it forever. Which leaves us with one last, really unsettling question. The Project Anchor story was fiction, sure, but the evidence for real anti-gravity research, for technology that's already flying around, that's compelling. So if this tech has been secretly developed for over 70 years, who has it now? And what in the world are they planning to do with it?